Okay. I'd like to call the special town commission meeting of June 2nd, 2022 to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Mayor Tom Peck,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Kurzman. Here. Commissioner Campo.
Here.
Commissioner Fender.
Here.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Here.
Okay, that brings us down to public comments. I don't have any slips. I assume there's no public comments. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll second.
Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Kurzman. Yes. Commissioner Campo.
Yes.
Commissioner Fender.
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes.
Mayor Tom Peck.
Yes, and that brings us down to item 4, selection of town manager. Good evening, everybody. The purpose of this special meeting is to select a town manager. First of all, I'd like to thank Donna from the Mercer Group for her hard work in getting us this far. At our previous meeting, we narrowed down the field to 4 candidates to interview and finalized a template for the employment agreement. Yesterday and today were the designated days for the 4 interviews. We've had a couple of changes I wanted to mention for the sake of our residents who may not be aware of them. First, one of the candidates, Matthew Hammond, withdrew his application, I guess it was Sunday or early Monday. The interviews proceeded on Wednesday with 3 candidates who were interviewed by myself and Commissioner Campo. Early today, one of the 3 candidates, Chris Russo, withdrew from consideration. The remaining 2 candidates were interviewed by Commissioners Mayfield, Fender, and Vice Mayor Kurzman. Subsequent to today's interview, a 3rd candidate, Kent Shoshone, removed himself from consideration. So that leaves us with 1 candidate, and I think we need to talk about what kind of options we have going forward. The first option, of course, is based on the remaining candidate. We can certainly make a selection and proceed as we previously discussed with the town attorney finalizing the contract for approval at our next meeting on the 21st of June. The second option, of course, is to interview additional candidates. We can go back. One of the things we can do is go back to our original list and select additional candidates for consideration, and we can set up those interviews as soon as Commissioner Fender and Vice Mayor Kurzman return from vacation. So let me throw out those 2 ideas and see what the pleasure of the commission is. Commissioner Campo.
This is very surprising. I'd like to know what the availability of the interim town manager would be in order to make a decision as far as continuing to serve us during this time.
Do we put you on the spot enough, Dan?
Thank you. My contract calls for me to be employed by the town until a new manager is seated, so I intend to uphold my terms of the contract.
Okay, perfect. All right, thanks.
Okay. Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes, I learned when I walked in just a few minutes ago that there was another candidate who withdrew. So will you go again with what you just said about the options?
Well, I mean, we still, of course, have the option of selecting the only individual still standing, or we can certainly go back to the list that we developed back on May the 17th, where we selected the 4 candidates, and select a few additional if we so desire, if that's what you want to do. Or I'm open to any other suggestions that the commission would like. Commissioner Fender.
So, been super busy today. I enjoyed the interviews. This is new information to me. I think that we're down to 1, right?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Okay. So, even when we had 2, my choices were 3, ranking of the 2 or none of the above, but my desire at that time was never to go back to the list we had, because in my mind, the process is the process, and we vetted this group of candidates through our process. If they didn't make it to the interview table, to me, that was a successful weeding of those potential candidates as candidates. So, my personal opinion is that, and you won't be happy about it, but it's to start from scratch, reopen, just like we did in the last round, right? We had 2 rounds the last time we chose a town manager. And I'm not for going back to the list of people we've already vetted. I'm for finding a new pool of candidates and maybe finding them in a different way, finding them either through Indeed or through another process. I'm okay with doing it, same process, by the way, but I'm just saying that my personal opinion is to start from scratch. I mean, unless you could also convince me that the one candidate we have is fine. And by the way, my opinion at the time when I thought there were 3 or 2 was that I thought they were both valid candidates. But I don't believe that we should be, I don't think we should be selecting a town manager because everyone else dropped out but the one. I don't think that's fair to the new potential town manager, even though it's unfortunate for her. I think that as a commission, we should be selecting from more than 2, honestly, but I would, in fact, when we had the conversation a couple weeks ago, I said, we should probably have more people on the list, but we narrowed it down to 4, and that's what we went with, and so here we are.
Well, it's curious you said that. I think, yes, we certainly did agree to the 4, but, I think there were a couple of the candidates that, were fairly close to making that list that may have been satisfactory. I don't know the answer for that. Commissioner Mayfield, do you have any thoughts on how we should proceed?
Yeah, hadn't gone the way I would have written it to go, but that's such is life. I did enjoy my interviews today. I felt like they were productive, but I also believe, we owe it to the town, and it would be in the town's best interest to interview more than 2. Commissioner Fender and I only interviewed 2 candidates for this important job. So ideally, and they went well, and I thought they could both do the job, but I think we need a little bit more. Starting from scratch, I did confirm with the search group, and this is the way she said it from the get-go, would be, if you use a search firm, you got to pay the fee again, understandably so. We talked about that when we started this process, going through Indeed, or I personally thought the search process and having someone help us was very valuable and needed. At this point, I'm open to interviewing a couple of the other candidates. One of them I had marked as a finalist who had not come forward, and there was someone else I would at least consider too. And that would still be part of the process, correct, Ms. Higginbotham? Yes. So I think that might be a worthwhile route. That's where I am at this point.
Vice Mayor Kurzman, would you like to weigh in?
Yeah, there was one candidate that I saw that we didn't move forward with, and that was Robert Daniels, who had similar experience to what we're looking for, close to town manager, gets grants, and I thought it would have been worth interviewing at the time. But at this point, I don't know if we go back into the pool at this point and start over again. I hate to program this, but at the same time, I don't want to have to settle, and I don't think anybody else does. This is one we got to get right. We can't get it wrong. Otherwise, we're going to be doing the same process over again a year from now, or less.
Okay, and Commissioner Campo, did you?
Well, I just think because of the recent developments that we need a debriefing. We need a debriefing from the recruiter. I think the recruiter needs to spend some time examining her process and talking to the individuals to see if there were any common threads. I think we have the luxury of, I think, the best town manager that I've served with, here in Sewalls Point. We now have the luxury of stringing them along a little longer. So the town of Sewalls Point is a special place, and our residents deserve us to do our complete due diligence. I think Lynn is a lovely lady. I think that she has a very diverse background. I didn't feel like it was the best fit. I think she's a very interesting person, and I think because we have the luxury of having a team that's professional, that works well together, that, it'd be the easy thing to do, as my friend Chuck said when I spoke to him today. It's sometimes the easy thing to do is not the right thing to do. I think if it involves us spending more time and energy, and I'm thinking that this is not going to be starting from scratch because of the recruiting firm and that we'd have to pay a new firm. I think that's a question that I'd like to ask. That we should spend the time and consideration to get this town and the residents, the best possible scenario, short-term and long-term. So I think we need to kick it back to our recruiter to do some research to see if there's some common links or if there was a problem in our process before we just rush into today pulling the trigger because, we're in a desperate last-minute situation. We're not. So, and I think that every courtesy should be afforded to Lynn Ladner as far as our further consideration. But I think making a rash decision tonight when we don't need to is unnecessary, and I'm willing to do what it takes to go through that process. And I think, Donna, I think it would be good for us to hear from you. I mean, would you continue on this process with us, and would you charge a whole new fee for this? I think we need to know about that, because that was one of the reasons that we wanted to go with a recruiting firm, is because of the bullpen, so.
Yeah, Donna, I also like to hear your recommendations vis-a-vis what we're talking about.
Mayor Tom Peck, Commissioners, we've certainly had a turn of events today that none of us expected. In my original proposal, my guarantee is that if you do not accept or make a decision, that I will continue the search until we are successful with no additional fees other than expenses.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
let me make sure I understand, and it sounds like, I think I understand where Commissioner Fender and Commissioner Campo are coming from. You essentially want to maybe go back to the original list, or to do some additional recruiting here to see if we get any additional candidates? Is that what you're?
To clarify, I think before we determine our next step, we need to have a debrief with the recruiter, who needs to debrief with the candidates, and not just the 3 candidates that dropped out, the other candidates, to see if we need to learn something from the process. And I think that by our next meeting in a couple of weeks, she might have a more thorough report to say, we need to do more of this or less of that, or so I think we have the luxury of researching what's gone right and what's gone wrong before we have to make that decision tonight. And I just got the information walking in. So how could we make a decision? Unless we have to. I mean, if we had to, we could, but I don't think we have to. So I think that my recommendation would be to direct the recruiter to debrief with the finalists and to come back with a new game plan.
Okay.
That's my recommendation.
Commissioner Fender?
I'm not super passionate about this. I think we're kind of on the same page. I hire a lot of people. I feel like I understand the process. I'm always open to input, but I want to go out to a whole new pool, right? They can be included in it. I think if we're going to start over, we should start over. And if I were one of these people who had been not selected or in the original process, and now we're going back to ask them, I would feel somewhat slighted, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, certainly I wasn't your first candidate, but to me, I think we should put a new timeline in place with a new deadline date for submission. And just like we did in the last hiring process, the fact that there were probably people that were interested in applying last time that missed the deadline, but now that they realize, oh, they didn't hire anybody, we'll get new candidates in. And the advertising had been going on longer. But I'm certainly open to outside. But I'm sorry, but I do feel confident in our process and in my ability to hire a competent town manager, so.
Okay. Commissioner Mayfield?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify with Donna, because we had talked earlier about this. I believe I asked her the question, and to your point and to yours, when you said you would see it through, you are specifying the list of finalists that you chose, correct? Versus a whole new search that Commissioner Fender is talking about would be a whole new fee, like at the beginning. No.
No, not a new fee.
I agree. I think we need to have more discussions
Right.
on, I think we all need the opportunity to digest what has happened
Agree.
today and decide the direction
Correct.
that you want to go. So we have options. We have the 24 resumes in full, I believe it was 24, that we can relook at and see if there are any of those
Right.
that may come forward this time.
Right.
That may be an option. We can also extend the advertising and maybe advertise for 2 weeks and see what comes in during that time. But
Okay, so you're saying, I guess I misunderstood when we spoke earlier, and I apologize. So if you were to try to recruit, I was of the understanding that the original pool that you said was all part of the lump sum fee that the town paid.
Yes.
And then if you were to recruit new people, that was going to be a new search per se. And so I was incorrect? Okay.
no, we will continue. We are still
Okay.
on the same search.
Okay, well, that's better than I thought it was, so, okay.
So I guess where we're heading is we're going to ask Donna to come back to the next, our next meeting, and when is that going to be, the 21st?
June 21.
21st. You can debrief us, and we can come up with the direction going forward. Is that the consensus?
Well, we've changed the meetings so that even the workshop meetings can be business meetings. Isn't our next meeting in like 2 weeks?
21st.
No, it was rescheduled to the 21st of June due to absence.
Their vacations, their
So,
vacations, yeah.
but it is a regular meeting, yes.
Okay, so the only meeting in June is the June 21st meeting?
No, there's a meeting also for the 28th that's scheduled.
Okay, I missed that, I'm sorry. Okay, so, yeah, well, so we're going to expect from the recruiter a report, a debrief based upon the current environment for hiring and the process that we've been through after getting input from the candidates that we work with, and a recommended game plan. That sounds good
Is
to me.
that the consensus?
Yeah.
Yes,
I have a few
that's
little
the
added
consensus. I'm sorry, Commissioner Mayfield, do you have anything?
And Commissioner Campo, you were talking about the finalists, the ones that were the top 4. Are you also going to reach out to the other finalists on the list to get their input? Is that what you're asking also, or just or letting her take the wheel and decide?
I would,
The more info, the better?
I'd like to see what your game plan is, and, we can communicate before the actual meeting. And I think that, Donna's made herself very available. I've been very pleased with, I think you were probably as flabbergasted as we were. So I'm confident in the team and, trust that your experience will bring with it, a good game plan moving forward.
Okay. Vice Mayor Kurzman, do you have anything you wish to add?
I look forward to seeing Donna in a couple of weeks. I'm sure you'll get a good pool of good candidates in the next round out. It's just a bunch of unfortunate circumstances that have occurred.
I agree. Okay. Have we confused you enough, or do you have direction exactly what you would like you to
I
do?
got it.
Okay, thank you very much, Donna. All right, I think that's the only item for discussion. Are there any commission, well, I'm sorry, would the town attorney like to weigh in here?
No.
Okay,
I mean, my only 2 cents is a pool changes every week, right? The pool of people who are looking for jobs, so.
Yeah.
You know, Donna says open advertising again, I think that's a good idea. 'Cause there are jobs that are changing, especially in this environment. We all follow the media, we all see what's happening with the job market. So, you probably get a different pool of candidates.
I think you're right. Okay, are there any staff comments? Mr. Hudson?
None tonight, thank you.
Any other commission comments?
Nope.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
We're adjourned, thank you.
Thank you.